It's pretty obvious that Kansas City is the best city in the world to be an entrepreneur. This panel goes into some of the more important reasons why. Keep building Kansas City and enjoy this video.
So I moved here from Columbia, Missouri, and I was surprised, well, positively surprised by the whole community, the startup community in Kansas City. Why? What makes Kansas City such an awesome place to start a company?
Well, I think about one of my newfound friends who moved here from New York, and he's actually doing a kind of a tech startup, but it's certainly a startup right now. And as I was introducing him to some of our friends and some of the people in this community that were entrepreneurs, as it turns out, Kansas City is a very, very small world. And it seems like everyone knows everyone else. And I think that's good because people are willing to help. And one of the great things when I was sitting in the Beta Blocks demo day, where the startups got to kind of demo their business, is a gentleman by the name of Danny O'Neill. And Danny O'Neill founded the Roastery. And he said that, you know what, if you ask me for help or if you ask to go out and get a cup of coffee, then I've never said no. And I think going all the way back to the social media club, that people in Kansas City oftentimes are wanting to help other people with no expectation of anything in return, and I think that's very powerful and unique to Kansas City. There's probably 50 different groups that are meeting every day of the week. And so I think you can find your own niche that it's easy to find with any number of tools or even within your network. And what my good friend in college used to say is birds of a feather flock together. And that's always really resonated with me. And that's the place where you can go find your peers. If you're into developing, you can geek out.
Yeah.
If you're into the artistry, you can talk high level concepts. If you're into operational or even giving back to the community and not for profit.
Yeah, I agree. I think there are a lot of groups and other things that make this a great place to start businesses. There's the Kauffman Foundation, there's Google Fiber, there's the Kansas City Chamber of Commerce, there are startup incubators like Beta Blocks and Spark Lab. There is a fantastic community of people who are very engaged in everything related to startups. There's a very vibrant development community, and
Well, I was going to say, well, what about creative? So you have Hallmark and you have all these agencies here. You have a lot of creative firepower that you would typically want to see, well, that you would think you would see on the east or west coast, right?
And there are some pretty big technology companies in town also. So when you mix all that in with the fact that this is one of the most livable cities in the United States and the cost of living is really low, I think that makes for a perfect place to start a business at a lower cost. So again, you can be profitable faster. And you have tons of resources then to leverage at the same time.
Now we're getting national attention and with Inc. magazine and Wall Street Journal and the list goes on and on and on. And I think that is a huge accolade for Kansas City that we're doing the right things. You know, the Beta Blocks incubators, the Kauffmans of the world, they are supporting the entrepreneurial community in a way that may be different than other cities, and it's actually working, right?
Right, yeah. Even large companies and corporations like Sprint, for example, works with the local community, helps the startups. Recently we had the Sprint Accelerator,
Right, yeah.
and that has helped so many. That brought together people from all over the world in Kansas City. You know, having that access to those people is something special, and you may not get that in every city.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think there's more access to capital in Kansas City than there has been early, and people that can connect you. And there's also some public funds out there, right? So if you talk about Spark Lab, that's a mix of public and private funds. I think there are a number of other organizations out there. And I think Kansas City, they had $1 million, $1.5 million grant that they were giving away in partnership with some other organizations. And I think that's very special for Kansas City.
Well, I've sat in numerous town hall meetings about entrepreneurship. You know, I can't think of too many cities that have a town hall meeting just on the topic of entrepreneurship, and the mayor is asking questions to the public. How can we improve this for entrepreneurs? How can we improve this for the small business? You know, that's very valuable. And I remember the last town hall meeting I was at, people were actually thinking about how to use the knowledge and the force or the power from the universities that we have in Kansas City. How to keep the students in, how to hire them in our small businesses.
Without question, everybody helps everybody else out here. It's the sort of place where if you need an introduction, as you said, you can get an introduction. If you need an introduction to venture capitalists, you can get one. they'll sit down, they'll talk to you. Even if they don't invest in your company, they'll take the time out to give you advice on how to structure your company better, or things that you should think about. And or they'll even connect you with other people that might be good resources for you. So it's a small enough place that you don't get lost in the midst of all these other companies and people trying to do different things. One thing we don't mention enough, but is also relevant, is this is one of the most dynamic places to do biotech work.
Right.
There's the Stour Institute. There are several pretty big research institutions affiliated with universities. There's a lot of money being provided to biotech startups, and I think that also helps the high-tech and other startup communities within the city. And there are lots of places that are really focused on entrepreneurs. I can name individual businesses like Snow and Company and some of the coffee houses around town and other places that have gone out of their way to encourage entrepreneurship. So I think those are all big pluses on our side when it comes to starting a business in Kansas City.